It is time to set some reading goals for 2025. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome to my reading life and welcome to my 2025 reading goals video. Today I'm going to share all of the reading goals, plans, ideas, hopes and dreams, whatever they may be. To be perfectly honest, I am sometimes really bad about sticking to reading plans and goals for the year. I start out really strong and then things just sort of fizzle out somewhere after the first third of the year. But I am hoping, because of all of you lovely book lovers out there, that maybe you can help keep me accountable this year, and I will maybe stick to some of these goals that I am setting for myself. I tried to make my goals very broad and general because I know if I get too specific, that's when everything falls apart, because I am inherently a mood reader and I want to read what I want to read when I want to read it, and I need to make allowances for that. Just as my monthly TBRs, I like to call them piles of possibilities, this is also just a set of hopefuls, of possibles, of things I would like to attain in 2025, but I'm certainly not going to beat myself up about it if I don't get to all of these in the coming year. But I do think it's fun to set goals. I enjoy the process of doing that, of thinking up what I want to focus on for the coming year. And so we're just going to dive on into what I have come up with for 2025. The first thing that I want to talk about, my 2025 Read Your Shelves Challenge. If you have not watched my video with all of the details on my Read Your Shelves Challenge, I will link it in the cards and in the description box below. So please go ahead and check that out and you can get all the nitty-gritty details. Basically what it comes down to is I'm going to focus mostly on reading all of the unread books that are sitting on my shelves, of which I have many. Though it was really lovely to see that there are many of you out there who also have many books on your unread shelves as well. So I feel like I am in good company. We are all in good company. We can do this together. Many of you have said you're going to join me for this challenge, and I am so very excited about that. The idea is to read as many books off of your shelves as you want to read in the coming year. And in my video, I talk about all the parameters I have set for myself. And when I do my January TBR video, I will talk about what I am planning to read off my shelves for January. I'm also going to finally reveal the total number of unread books I have on my shelves. I'm still working on inputting them all into BookBuddy. It's just very time consuming and the holidays have been very busy, but my goal is to get that done before I film my January TBR video and share that with all of you so we can know as of January 1st where I stand in terms of my unread books. And that way I can just use that as my starting number and then subtract down from there as we go when I read books or unhaul books, whichever the case may be. The Read Your Shelves Challenge is obviously going to be my main focus for 2025. So above and beyond everything else, my goal is to read down my unread books. And any of my other goals that I'm setting for myself for next year are to be incorporated with that overarching goal for the year. I have set a few very loose kind of monthly goals of books that I would like to read each month, and I'm just going to share them really quickly. I have 4 categories of books that I would like to read, one book from each month. So I would like to read 1 mystery a month, 1 nonfiction book a month, 1 classic a month, and 1 book off of my Kindle a month. So when I put together my monthly TBRs, you will see a book from each of those 4 categories going onto my TBR. And if you don't, then definitely reach out and say, Jen, what about your mystery, nonfiction, classic Kindle book that you were supposed to have on your TBR? and I will say, oh, you are right. I have forgotten. But I'm hoping not to forget any of my monthly goals or any of my annual goals for next year, because I'm going to put everything into my brand new reading journal. I'm going to give you a little look inside this journal in just a few minutes in this video, so stay tuned for that. I haven't actually started setting this up yet, but I have marked some of the pages, what I plan to do with them. And so I'll give you a little look inside this reading journal, and you can see how the pages are all formatted, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with some of those pages. And another goal that I have set for myself for next year is to utilize the idea of the try a chapter as a way to decide if there are books I am going to keep on my shelf or if there are books I am going to unhaul without reading them. And my goal next year is to hopefully do this at least every other month, if not every month, do a few books. We'll see if I have time for that. I may not always, but my goal is to at least every other month do a try a chapter where I pick at least 5 books and try the first chapter and then decide, is this a book I want to keep on my unread shelf or is it a book I want to unhaul? And hopefully that will also whittle down some books that have been languishing on my shelves and will either get read or out the door they go. And then my final goal for 2025, and again, this ties just perfectly into my Read Your Shelves challenge, and that is I am going to pull 25 books off of my shelf that I have had for more than 5 years. So if they've been sitting on my shelf since prior to 2019, I'm going to pick 25 of those books, of which I am sure I have, and I am either going to read them or I'm going to unhaul them. I actually got this idea from Tiffany at Beautiful Minutia. She does a read or rid project each year where she picks a number of books and then she either reads them or she gets rid of them if she doesn't read them. And I really liked the idea of that. And so I thought I would pick 25 books that have been just sitting on my shelves for so very long, and some of them will probably go into some of my try a chapters, and I'm sure some of them will just go directly onto my monthly TBRs, and then I will either read them or I will start to read them and DNF them, or I will just decide I don't want to read them at all and I will unhaul them. And since I am going to be picking those 25 books before January begins, I am going to have another video coming out very soon sharing those 25 books that I am putting onto my read or unhaul project list. So stay tuned for that because that is coming very soon. And now I'm going to give you a little sneak peek inside my reading journal. So I am going to reset things up here so that we can flip through the reading journal. I've never done a video where I put the camera face down and just show you my desktop and my hands. We'll see how this goes. I love to watch planner videos where people do that, but I've never done it myself. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this goes okay. So let's take a look at my reading journal. Hello everyone. I am now going to give you a close-up look at the inside of the reading journal that I am planning to use for 2025. I did just want to remind you all that I received this journal complimentary from Kunitsa and Company, who make this journal, in exchange for my review, but all of the opinions expressed here are my own, and I really was pleasantly surprised when I opened this up as to how well I felt this would fit into the tracking and reading goals I have for 2025. But let us just get into the journal. As you can see, it's got this lovely fabric cover. Mine is sort of a burgundy maroon color. I'm not sure if they all come in this color or if there are different colorways. And I'm just going to move this out of the way. And hopefully this is going to be centered when I open it up. And let's take a look at the inside. When you open it up, the first page obviously has a space for you to put your name. It says belongs to. And then when you turn the page, there is a quote that says, "Reading is a way for me to expand my mind, open my eyes, and fill up my heart." Oprah Winfrey. And then you turn the page and we have an index. So this is so you can write in the page and then the contents of your journal. And then turn the page again and another quote. It says, "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one." George R.R. Martin. And then on this page, we just have sort of an introduction and what's inside the journal and all of the page numbers for each of these sections. And then you turn the page and you have sort of your first fill-in pages here for actual tracking. And this is a daily reading tracker. And up at the top here, you can put in the year, and then there are 12 columns going down the page, and you can then write, you know, each of the months, January, February, March, etc. And then it's got a total of 31 boxes in each column. And of course, you could utilize this. I believe that it is set up so that you could just mark every day that you read. However, I read every single day. I cannot think of a day when I don't read at least a little bit. So I'm not going to use it to track my daily reading. I'm going to use this to track the owned books that I read every month, because my Read My Shelves challenge is my biggest challenge for 2025, and I really want to make sure that I am reading off of my shelves. And so I think it will be fun to see how many books off of my shelves I read each month. Certainly I won't be reading 31. That's totally fine. But if I read 5 or 7 or 3, then I think it will just be kind of interesting to track that throughout the year and kind of see where I read the most and where my reading kind of ebbs and flows. So that's what I'm planning to use this for. And then I'm not sure, maybe I'll use this page to keep track of my non-owned books that I read. So library books I borrow, or if I purchase a new book, because I would like to read any new books that I buy right when I purchase them, or within that month, say. So maybe I'll use this page to track that. Not 100% sure yet. If anyone has any other ideas for what I could track here, let me know. Please leave those in the comments. And then moving on to the next pages, this is to track a reading challenge and then the books to read for the reading challenge. So for this page, I'm going to, or the spread, I'm going to use this to track my read or unhaul project. As I mentioned earlier, I am planning to pick 25 books that I have owned since before 2019 and read them or unhaul them next year. And so I'm going to list them all out here. I only have 24 spaces on this page, so I'm gonna have to add one extra line here at the bottom, which is fine. And then I will just kind of keep track. So this has like a percentage marker where you can kind of color in, or however you want to indicate this, from 10% to 100%. It also has lines, vertical lines going down. So you could actually do 1% to 10% vertically within each of these sections. I hope that makes sense if you can see that. And then you can write in the total books. How many books do you challenge yourself to read? The date that the challenge starts on and the date the challenge ends. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory from this, but I can just fill all this out and keep track of my read or unhaul project. And then there's another page just like this. And for this one, I am thinking I'm going to keep track of the Kindle books I want to read next year, because it is my goal to read one Kindle book per month. So I think I'm just going to pick 24 of the Kindle books that I have currently on my Kindle that I really want to read, and then I can pick 12 of them and read one each month, and hopefully that will allow for my mood reading and all that good stuff. There's another place to do a third reading challenge. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this one or not. And then there are just some spreads of pages to write books that you want to read. And I'm thinking about using this maybe as a bit of a wish list, or at least part of these or a few of these pages to keep a wish list of books that I hear about in 2025 that I might want to purchase and or read. And I'm trying to make sure, like I mentioned, that if I buy a book, that I read it right away. Also, I'm trying to give myself a little grace period between when I hear about a book and then if I actually purchase it or check it out from the library, just to see if it's something I really do want to read, or was it just a book that in that moment when I heard somebody talking about it, it sounded really exciting, but maybe in the long run isn't something I want to read. So we'll see. I may use some of these books for that. But there are quite a few books to read pages, so you have plenty of space to put in books you want to read. And then we have another quote, "Closed in a room, my imagination becomes the universe and the rest of the world is missing out," by Chris Jamie? I'm not sure. I don't know that person. And then moving on, the next section are books finished. On the left-hand side, you have a stack of blank books, so you could write in all the titles or color in the spines, however you wanted to keep track of the books you're reading. And then on the right side, you can put in the title and author and a star rating. I also think I'm going to keep track of the date I finished the book over here on the left, because I do like to see that in my reading journal, what date I finished the book. So I think I'm going to add that as well. And then you have, I think, 3 of these pages with the book stacks, and then it just goes into books finished. So again, I mean, you could utilize this to keep track of books you've read for any of the challenges you're doing or different things throughout the year. I'm just going to keep track of all the books that I read. And whether I fill in this book stack or not remains to be seen. I don't tend to be super creative in my reading journal. I just like it to be very straightforward. I'm very functional in how I use my reading journal. So if anyone has any ideas for this, other than just writing the titles on the spines or coloring them in, let me know. But as of right now, I think I'm just gonna write them in this list here. Then we have another quote page. "Outside of a dog, a book is man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read." Groucho Marx. Gotta love Groucho. And then the next spreads are to write down favorite books, and we have a few pages here. 2, 4, 6, 7 pages for favorite books. And I think I'm going to use this to write down books that I read next year that I think are going to make it into my all-time favorites list, or at least my favorites list for the year. And this will hopefully make it easier at the end of the year when I want to go back and do my wrap up for the year to look and see which books were favorites. And I'm not sure, maybe I'll break it down by genre, so I could have fiction, mystery, middle grade, nonfiction, whatever other genres I happen to read, classics. Yes, that might be a good way of doing that. Then I could have it sort of sorted already by genre. We'll see. I'll have to think about that. And then we have another quote page. I like how there's this quote page kind of between each section. That's really lovely. It says, "Think before you speak, read before you think." Fran Lebowitz. And then I really love these pages. They are did not finish pages. And here you can write the title and author of books you did not finish, and then why you did not finish them. And I definitely am going to utilize this because I have a feeling I'm going to be doing some DNFing as I try chapters of books I've had on my shelves for a while, or try to read books and decide they're not for me now. So yes, I will definitely use these pages, and it'll be nice to have a reason why I did not finish it in here, because that's not something I've ever kept track of in my physical reading journal before, even though on Goodreads I will often indicate why I did not finish a book. So yes, quite a few pages for did not finish. I'm sure I won't fill all of those out. And then again, another quote page. "Books are the plane and the train and the road. They are the destination and the journey. They are home." Anna Quindlen. Love Anna Quindlen. And then next is a section to write in books you have lent out. So you can put the title and author and to whom and the date. And then another page opposite it for books borrowed. So again, the title and author and who you borrowed it from, the date, and when you want to return it by, or if it's a library book, when it's due. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to use these pages, especially the books lent out, because I don't lend my books out that often. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use it this way, or if I'm going to maybe repurpose this page for something else. But I'm thinking about using the books borrowed page to keep track of the library books I read next year.
I think that might be kind of fun to see which books I checked out from the library and actually read. So that's kind of my idea for that. And again, there are a few pages for books lent out and books borrowed. And then again, we have another quotes page. We read books to find out who we are, what other people, real or imaginary, do and think and feel. It's an essential guide to our understanding of what we ourselves are and may become. Ursula K. Le Guin. And then here we get into the detailed review pages. And there are quite a few of these pages. They go pretty much almost to the very end of the reading journal. But these detailed review pages have up at the top on the right, there's a little checkbox for book or audiobook. I think I'm also going to indicate if the book was a Kindle book or not. Then you can write in the title and author. There's a box for some details, genre, pages and length, first published, original language, recommended by, recommended to, start and finish dates, and then sort of a scale of how exciting, ease of reading, my overall rating. So from 1 to 5, you can kind of mark on this scale. And then there are a few prompts that you can answer. What did you think of the book? What was the most interesting, intriguing, challenging, surprising? And what are you going to take away from this book? And then the entire right-hand page is just a dot grid page for your thoughts and any quotes from the book that you wanted to write down. And I really like this review page style. So I don't know that I'll review every book that I read next year, but I'm thinking that I'm going to review books that I really loved and am planning to keep on my read bookshelves. So anything that's going to become a permanent part of my book collection, I think I want to have a detailed review of. So that is my planner as of right now. I think there's only about 50 entries for detailed book reviews, and that certainly wouldn't be enough for me to write a detailed review of every book I read, since I tend to read over 100 books every year. But I can at least write down the books that I really enjoyed, and maybe if it's a book I finished and then ended up really not liking, that might be interesting to keep reviews of those as well. So we will see exactly how many reviews I do. I always start out ambitious about writing book reviews, and then I usually fizzle out somewhere during the year. That takes us all the way back to here. The last quote page here is, "We read to know we are not alone," C.S. Lewis. And then they have some ideas for how to utilize the different layouts in the reading journal. So you can kind of take ideas from the samples here, or you can do your own thing, as I'm going to do for some of the layouts for sure. And then finally, at the very, very back, we just have a few blank dot grid pages. And I'm going to use this first page just to write out my 2025 reading goals. So I have them handy here in my journal to keep me on track next year. And then I am going to write out all the parameters for my Read My Shelves challenge as well. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to use the rest of these pages for, if I utilize them at all. I am planning to finish reading all of the Agatha Christie novels that I have on my shelves currently, and I have 10 novels left to read, and I've already planned out which months I'm going to read them in, and so I may just list them back here and which month I'm going to read them in, and then I can check them off as I go. So I'm thinking I might use one of these pages to do that. And then I also am going to write in all the books for the Cozy Reader Book Club and which month we are reading them in, so that I have that handy as well. And that is the entire reading journal. And then back here, I left on this little paper slip that came over the back cover. There's a little cutout bookmark you can cut out here and use either in your journal or as a regular bookmark in your books. It says "just one more chapter," and that was just kind of a nice little thing. So that is how the reading journal comes when you receive it.
Hopefully that all worked out and you got a little glimpse inside my new reading journal. Again, if you're interested in purchasing this reading journal, I will have a link to it down in the description box below. I'm really excited about using it for 2025. I've never used a pre-printed reading journal before, so this is a whole new experience for me. But as you can see, I am going to make a few changes to it and kind of customize it so that it's going to work well for me. And hopefully it's something I can use for the entire year, and I don't know. I might fill it up before the end of the year and maybe I'll have to get a second one, but that's okay if I have to have two to encompass all my books for the whole year, as long as the format works well for me. But I will probably do maybe a quarterly check-in of my reading journal and let you guys know how it's going and how I am enjoying using it. But so far I'm really excited. So I'm going to spend some time right before New Year's to get it all set up and ready to go for 2025. I would love to know in the comments down below, do you like to set reading goals for the year? Do you have anything specific you want to accomplish next year in terms of your reading life? And are you going to be reading from your shelves as well? I know many of you are because you've already commented on my first video, but I'd love to know if anyone else wants to join us in this endeavor as well. I will definitely be doing a monthly check-in on how my Read Your Shelves project is going, so be sure to check those videos out and we can all cheer each other on and talk about how we're doing and how everything's going, and maybe we'll do some live videos next year as well and check in that way so that we can all talk about what's going on with reading off of our own TBR shelves. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. And if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you join my bookish community. And as always, I'll be back with another Vlogmas video very soon. Bye!